Good afternoon, viewers. Welcoming all the viewers through this accounting equation academic channel, presenting one problem from house property under the topic self-occupied house property. Before this, I uploaded two video classes on this topic, income from house property, and both the topic was related to let out house property. And when the house is self occupied house property, then how the income of a self occupied house property is computed under Income Tax Act. Today I am going on this to discuss through this video class. So as per Income Tax Act, provisions are given that a person, a owner who has two houses maximum for self-occupied purposes are exempt from tax. So two self-occupied houses are exempt from tax, and more than two houses if occupied for residential purposes, then as per the choice of the owner, any houses are to be exempted, and the third one house uh, is assumed or deemed to be let out, and it will be chargeable to tax. So based on today's topic, self-occupied house property, one problem that I have taken, uh, see that how it is different from uh, income from house property which is let out. This is self-occupied house property related problem. So Mr. X, the owner of a house, occupies for his own residence, own residence. The municipal value is rupees 2 lakh. Fair rent is rupees 1,50,000. Standard rent under Rent Control Act is 1,75,000. So all these are the per annum value, per annum, annual value per annum. The municipal tax of the house is rupees 1500 paid during the previous year. Other expenses in respect of the house are as follows. So insurance, repairs, interest on loan, house for the construction rupees 50,000. An important date is here. Loan was taken on 1st April 1997. Calculate the income from house property for the assessment year 2023-24. So this house questions is similar to house let out. Only the difference is that in case of let out, in the questions we get monthly rent. Monthly rent. What is the monthly rent for which house is let out? So only because of this house is not let out, it is used by the owner for his own residential purposes. So monthly rent question does not arise. This format will be used to solve the house self-occupied. Here, computation of income from self-occupied house property of Mr. X, a resident individual, for the assessment year 23-24 relating to previous year 2022-23. So everything's here. Now you see in the questions that all the values are given. fair value, fair rental value, municipal value, standard rent, under rent control act, all values are given. But if the house is self occupied, then gross annual value will be taken always nil, because this is exempted. Similarly, if the second house is there and it is also occupied, and that house will be also computed in this manner, because under income tax act maximum two houses are exempted. When the house is exempted from tax, then their gross annual value shall be considered always nil, even if the values, different values are given. But a let out house property, if it given, then it is not exempted, it is taxable. And so since you see, if it is if you see in the question that municipal tax is given rupees 1500, even then here we will take nil, because the house is self occupied. Okay, then so this net annual value nil. So this is the format we use for calculating uh, income from house property if it is self occupied. Only the one amount which is eligible for deduction, that is interest on capital. And interest on capital has provisions that it is given in the questions. uh, Interest on loan taken for construction of house, uh, rupees 50,000 given. That means that interest on loan is paid rupees 50,000. But in the bracket it is given that loan was taken on 1/4/1997. So this date has significance in the computation, in the allowance of deduction in respect of interest on capital. So we have to consider the date of loan borrowed for the construction of house property uh, in case of self occupied house property and in the case of let out house property. Provisions are given in case of self occupied house property. So two dates are there. This is the loan date. One date is given 1/4/1999. Other date is after. One date is loan taken before 1st April 1999. Another date is loan taken on or after 1st April 1999. Okay, this is on or after. On this date loan is taken, or after this date loan is taken, then it will be it has another provision. Before this date loan is taken, so in the given question loan was taken 1/4/97. The loan amount was taken on 1st April 1997, but interest on loan is still paying by Mr. X. Mr. X is still paying. That means loan amount outstanding is there, and annual interest on house is 50,000 on loan amount is still he is paying, and during the previous year 2022-23 he has paid 50,000. So then what is the importance of this debt? As per Income Tax Act, the provision says that if the loan amount is taken for the construction or purchase or repairs or renewals of the house property before 1st April 1999, then the house is used for residential purpose, then the owner can claim maximum rupees 30,000 as interest on loan deduction under section 24 clause B. So this 30,000 is we have claimed as per this provision in the solution. This is the, so that interest on loan you can write here under section 24 clause B here 30,000. So this maximum interest amount eligible for deduction is 30,000. If the interest on loan, if loan amount is borrowed before 1st April 1999. So then another provision is that if the loan amount is borrowed on or after 1st April 1999, then the deduction will be maximum rupees 2 lakh. Maximum rupees you can write rupees 2 lakh maximum deduction. So this 30,000 rupees is including pre-construction period interest and current year period interest, and this 2 lakh rupees is also if pre-construction period interest amount is there and current year interest amount is there, then pre-construction period is 1/5 and plus current year of current previous year interest amount, together the amount cannot be more than rupees 2 lakh as interest on loan is eligible for deduction. So maximum amount is 2 lakh rupees. Okay, this provision is applicable in case of house property self-occupied. So this restriction is not applicable if the house is let out. So any amount of interest is eligible for deduction if the house property is let out. But this restricted provision is applicable in case of house property which is self-occupied. Another point that we have to consider while claiming deduction rupees 2 lakh, that so first thing is that house loan is taken for the construction of house property or purchase of house property. It should be, repeat, the construction work must be completed within 5 years from the end of the financial year in which capital was borrowed. These 2 points you have to remember very carefully. Okay, and the borrower has to obtain a certificate from the lender specifying the amount of interest payable. The certificate must also specify the purpose of loan. This is the certifying that the lender has given the house loan for the construction of the house property. This fact should be certified by the lender, and that is the owner of the house property must obtain a loan certificate for what purpose the loan amount was taken. This is to be certified. Okay, now if these conditions are not fulfilled, then the owner of the house property will claim deduction of interest on borrowed capital, maximum rupees 30,000 only. Alright, so this rule is applicable only if the house property is self-occupied. This rule is not applicable if the house is let out. Okay students, so all of you listen, watch it, and repeatedly watch it, so you will understand the provision which I had explained.